everybody, welcome to another edition of Izzy Cinema Escape on YouTube. I'm your host, Izzy. Anyone who is new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button and spread the word to your friends and family. Anyone who isn't new to this channel, thank you for continuing to spread the word. I hope you guys continue to enjoy my work. Today's review is based off a vampire film that was adapted from the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicle trilogy. You have, well, anyone who's familiar with Anne Rice know that she wrote Interview with the Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned, Midnight the Devil, Armand the Vampire. I mean, she has written an exponential amount of vampire mythology novels that have transcended literary time. Interview with the Vampire is one of my favorite vampire films of all time, and the book is absolutely amazing. The film and the book very much coincide with one another to where it's almost scene for scene, word for word, just mirrors exactly from the book. Very and quite faithful to the book, in my opinion. You have The Queen of the Damned. Now, this is what my review is going to be based off of. The Queen of the Damned, that was released in 2002, starred Stuart Townsend and Aaliyah. The Queen of the Damned had the misfortune of attempting to cram two books into one film. Now, anyone who is familiar with the books knows that The Vampire Lestat is pretty much a novel, is essentially a novel that is from Lestat's perspective as he is created into, well, he's sired into being a vampire, and throughout the years of his existence as being one of the damned or undead, whatever you want to call them, he is trying to find himself. He's attempted to rebuild certain connections with his mother and Lewis, and it's just, The Vampire Lestat is one of my favorite vampire books of all time. And from my perspective, it is the best book that Anne Rice has ever written as far as the Vampire Chronicles is concerned. Love that book. Love the emotion, love the whole gothic romanticism that is very much implemented within the confines of that novel. The book just really does an amazing job in terms of capturing the whole rock star essence that Lestat exudes. Then you have it transcending into the whole Queen of the Damned universe. Queen of the Damned, the film, is about Lestat using his popularity as a rock star. After emerging from a long slumber, he is awakened by the sound of nu metal / rock music that was very prominent in the early 2000s, actually. And he is using his talents as a songwriter, as a lyricist, as a performer to more or less attempt to coax the other vampire race out of hiding, and using the lyrics as a means of continuing to expose them. At the same time, his music has awakened the mother of all vampires, the Queen of the Damned, Queen Akasha, who was very much exotically and beautifully played by the late, great Aaliyah. This is Aaliyah's last film before she was tragically killed on a plane crash while filming her last music video in the process. The Queen of the Damned, from a cinematic perspective, but from a critic perspective, it isn't the worst film ever made, and it's not the greatest film ever made. Anyone who has read the books, and again, this is not meant to insult anybody, but anyone who hasn't read the books will most likely look at this film and say, you know what, this is a pretty good film. This is amazing. I really like what they did with it. But as someone who has read the book and has a strong familiarity with the characters from the novel, it really does kind of leave you with a strange sense of disappointment, because you know the opportunity was there for something very much epic and grandiose, and just it could have been something special if they just gradually built up this specific trilogy without having to cram two books into one film. But from that point of view, the Queen of the Damned film does a great job as far as capturing the whole atmosphere of what was popular at the time. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Orgy, Static X, Powerman 5000, I mean, those are pretty much your very much prominent nu metal bands at that point in time in the early 2000s, and they really just blew up as far as music was concerned. And the fashion was there, the music was there, the lyrics was there. I mean, the mindset was there, and it captivated an audience that was able to relate to what the singers were writing about and performing about overall. Stuart Townsend does a great job, in my opinion, as Lestat. I will say I would have been very much ideal to have Tom Cruise reprise his role as Lestat, because anyone who hasn't watched Rock of Ages, the musical, Tom Cruise still would have been the perfect Lestat. Anyone who hasn't watched Rock of Ages, they need to watch Tom Cruise and when he's performing Pour Some Sugar on Me. Seriously, the picture perfect Lestat. It would have been epically amazing if they had Tom Cruise return for the role. But you know, you can't always get what you want. But at the same time, it will, hopefully in the future they're able to use the whole de-aging technology to have Tom Cruise reprise his role as Lestat and do it. And you could leave Interview with the Vampire alone, but do a proper Vampire Lestat adaptation. Then most likely even remake Queen of the Damned. I mean, for just to have it be the quintessential perfect trilogy. But Queen of the Damned, it's not a horrible film by any means. If you're able to separate it from what you know of the novel and simply judge it on its own merits as a completely separate film, then it's a great film. It does a great service as far as capturing the whole vampire mythology, romanticism, and atmosphere of that specific period. But if you have read the books like I have, it does leave you with a great sense of disappointment of what could have been or what should have been, rather than simply wondering, man, what if they had did it this way? Whereas if they had did it the way that you had envisioned in your head after reading the book, you definitely know you would have been in for a treat. But overall, again, I've seen worse films. I have watched worse films. I have read worse synopsis, and I could still sit down and watch this. And even though I know what's going to happen, I don't necessarily feel as disappointed about it as I used to, as I'm able to fully judge it on its own merits. But from that perspective, I will say the soundtrack is a 5 out of 5 experience. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. Jonathan Davis did such an amazing job as far as composing the songs and really capturing the whole dark atmosphere, eternity aspect of the vampire race. You have David Draymond, who sings Forsaken. You have the late great Chester Bennington, who sings System. You have Jay Gordon, who sings Slept So Long, Jay Gordon from Orgy. You have Marilyn Manson, who sings Redeemer. It's Static X, who did the song So Cold. Just an overall overwhelming wall of sound of experience that by far, I miss soundtracks like this, because soundtracks like this don't seem to exist anymore. Like I said, the Queen of the Damned soundtrack is one of the greatest soundtracks ever made, by far. Truly recommended. Aaliyah does an amazing job as Queen Akasha. For someone who didn't necessarily have a lot of acting experience, she captures that whole exotic eternity element of something that is ancient, primordial evil, while still managing to entice you in such a way to where her lifestyle, their existence is charming, even though their motivations is purely and simply and utterly evil. But Aaliyah, when I read the books, even afterwards, I still pictured Aaliyah, because I just can't picture anyone else but Aaliyah as Queen Akasha. I mean, just an absolutely beautiful, mesmerizing, and memorable last performance from one of the greatest and most underrated singers of all time. Just what happened to her was just a complete tragedy, and it's so sad what happened. But overall, I have to say Queen of the Damned, and Stuart Townsend even does a great job as Lestat. But Queen of the Damned, in my opinion, my final review, my final status, or I have to say, I will give Queen of the Damned maybe a 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, possibly. I mean, it kind of comes and goes. It goes up and down from time to time, just because I know the process behind it and how it was just such a rushed experience, and how they just couldn't capture everything they did by just doing what they did as far as cramming the 2 books in one film. I know I sound repetitious on that, but seriously, anyone who has not read The Vampire Lestat, please do yourself a favor and read that book. Absolutely amazing. But I have to give it 3 out of 5, maybe 4 out of 5, just because now I'm able to separate it from my initial expectations, and it's still a good film. Still a good film. I do recommend it. Anyone who has not watched the film, I do recommend it for the most part. Anyone who has watched it, please, once again, let me know what you thought about it. And when you do watch it, let me know what you thought about it. Provide a like, provide a comment on my Facebook and my YouTube channel. Continue to subscribe and spread the word. I hope everybody enjoyed the review, and I hope to hear from you guys soon about it. Take care and remain safe and be healthy, and you will hear from me again. Peace out.